Anxiety is on the rise in the world, and Christians are not immune to dealing with and facing worry. But as Christians, we have a different and better way of overcoming anxiety. I would argue that we have the only true way to conquer anxiety. One of the places the Bible shows us how to deal with anxiety is in Psalm 55, verse 22, which says, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." Let's break that passage down into 4 specific points. First, it's notable to me that this passage doesn't say we won't have anxiety or worries. In fact, this passage assumes it. It doesn't say that if you're suffering from anxiety, you're a bad Christian, or if you have lots of worries, you don't have enough faith. No. This passage assumes we will have them and tells us how we can deal with them. Second, what do we do when we have anxiety or worry? Do we bury our anxieties inside or pretend they're not there, focus our mind on something else? No. That's what the world would suggest, but this passage tells us to do something differently. We acknowledge the things that cause us anxiety and give them to God, cast them in front of God, and ask for His help in dealing with them. And now, third, what does this passage say God will do when we've put our concerns in front of Him? Will God take away our concerns or take away the things that give us anxiety? That's not what this passage says. This passage says He will sustain us. When we bring our cares in front of God, when we tell Him what makes us anxious, He promises to be with us through those things. He promises to carry us through life when it's full of worry. Finally, let's take a look at the last part of this passage, which says, He will never let the righteous be shaken. That can be a little confusing. The beginning of this psalm tells us that the author was King David. And if you know your Old Testament, you know that the life of King David was full of many ups and downs. In many of those ups and downs, he wrote the Psalms. And in many of those Psalms, he seems downcast. He seems like he's in anguish. He seems like he's worried and anxious about his life. The Hebrew word at the end of Psalm 55:22 is translated as shaken. But other translations use a definition of moved. And that's the definition that I prefer. My ESV actually translates it this way. I like this better because it helps me understand that in the end, God will not allow us to be moved. Our eternity is safe with Him. With God as our rock, we ultimately will not be moved, regardless of how many anxious or worrisome things life gives us. Psalm 55:22 shows us 4 things about dealing with anxiety. First, it assumes that we will have anxiety and worries in life. Second, it tells us to bring those things that make us worried to God and to cast them in front of Him. Third, this passage tells us that God will sustain us as we go through anxiety and worry in life. It doesn't say that God will remove the anxiety or worries, but He will get us through them. And fourth, with God as our rock, we will not be moved. Our eternal state is safe with God. We know that in the end, our eternity is secure in Him. Well, I hope this video has been helpful in showing the Christian approach to dealing with and overcoming anxiety and worry in life. If you have prayer requests, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to pray for you.